confirm that we've got some Zoom attendees. You help identify, give those people a voice and they can introduce themselves.
Well, if they unmute, they will hear them.
Looks like, well, Scott, can you confirm that you can hear?
Oh, yeah, you do that. I think you have to do it because you just did that one.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you go up to the next one? You have to unmute him. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay,
I guess it's fine.
we have Gail. Can you communicate with us in here? How about, looks like Marty? I can see your ceiling, Marty.
Hi, Marty.
You were on camera a little earlier.
We're glad you're all with us.
Well, if you, whatever you can do from the technological side, Phil, if you could keep trying to
Well, I can ask to unmute.
communicate with
Why
our
don't you hit the chat and see what they say in the chat? I don't know if somebody-
folks that remoted in.
Oh, no audio. All right, he's
Let's,
okay. I think, man.
Do a roll call for the, start with you, Phil, for the folks that are on the board.
Sure. Phil Rockenbach,
Karen Knotak.
Dave Boiler.
Parker, right?
Dave Trudeau. We have some new folks. Do we get introductions? Kevin Ray.
Jane Ray,
Very. Where are you from?
Lake Arrowhead.
You're on Lake
Rapids
Arrowhead.
Trail.
Okay. Welcome. Okay, the minutes from last meeting went out to the board members. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second. Second from Dave. Any corrections, additions? If not, all in favor of approving the minutes from
October.
might have. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. One of those. Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes from October 10th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There. We're running the meeting from last month's minutes instead of the agenda. Here we go.
If anybody needs an agenda. Thank you.
Jane or Kevin, do you guys?
Announcements, one thing I wanted to bring up, because I got an email, some of you may be on their email list, Discovery Farms, their annual meeting is coming up on December 14th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Conference Center in Wisconsin Dells. Again, some of us have been to that in the past. I believe the registration is $80. So pay to pre-register. When you look at the agenda, there's some things about soil health and grass waterways, and then there's quite a bit on nitrogen optimization and nitrogen use. So it looks like a really good agenda. If some of us can attend, I think it'll be very informal or very informative. So,
No, Dave, do you want me to post that on Facebook now?
pardon me?
Do you want me to post it on Facebook?
Oh, would you? Yeah.
Okay, so where did you get that?
Did you get the email or?
I don't
should
think I did.
Share it with you.
Just share it with me. I know.
I got the email on the 8th of this month.
And then the cover crop conference is the day before the afternoon
Oh, that.
The, is that on the 14th, the Discovery Farms is?
Discovery.
Yep, so then, the 13th is the Wisconsin Cover Crop Conference. It's at the same location.
Oh, same.
Yeah, the same location, just the afternoon.
If there's any information on that.
Yeah, if you've got more
I can
information,
do-
you can share.
Yep.
Okay. Did you do a Facebook post? on that?
I have not yet, no.
Okay, Adams County report. I don't see Kyle here tonight, which surprises me.
Yeah, because I emailed him earlier. He didn't say he wasn't.
Carolyn, so I guess we'll just go on and to you, Colton, then to give us an update and cover the notes Scott gave you.
Yeah, so, got a few things. Tonya Petrick from Gold.
Could you speak up just a little more toward the mic? Okay.
Tonya Petrick from Gold should be reaching out to help set up a meet and greet. It's kind of trying to get together Packers, Lake Wisconsin, Lake Redstone, 14 Mile, just to kind of get the minds together and just kind of talk about similar water quality groups together, share ideas, and just get acquainted. So that she should be reaching out to.
We've been communicating
Okay.
Yeah,
with
we'll-
Dave and I. have been
yeah.
communicating.
We'll get into more detail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I have a couple slides I can just kind of show. We had done like a little ad hoc little test at a cranberry production field that we kind of took like some nitrogen and phosphorus tests and kind of saw over the course of different areas of the stream going through it. I can bring up a presentation for that too. And then I'll just add that Scott was at the last Tri-Lakes meeting and he proposed giving a presentation kind of about how the nutrients total nitrogen and total phosphorus move through the watershed and Tri-Lakes area. And he talked with the board and the board said they would get back to him with dates. And he just wanted me to mention to you that he'd love to see some of you members from 14 Mile there for the presentation. So you can
I wanted to mention that
find out that.
he's kind of given that information to us once.
Yeah.
We've got similar information at Oldenburg. And after he was here, I also went to Pat giving it again at Packers. And I can tell you, even twice wasn't enough to get the comprehension of the detail that gets covered in that. So even though Scott's kind of shared that with us before, if a number of us can get there and hear it again, it certainly doesn't hurt.
I don't know, is there a way for me to
Can
pull
you-
slides?
I don't know.
Can you send it to him? To
Yeah.
Phil and his computer? You have Phil's email. right?
Colton, send it to, what is it, 14 Mile
Okay,
WS@gmail.com.
did you get that 14 mile WS?
I just put it like this.
Okay, and until you get the
You
slides.
can do that. He can,
USB?
he can
Yeah.
put it on.
That's
I
fine.
don't have a spare US. Yeah, I do. I got
Okay, he does.
one open USB.
Did you have anything else, Colton, until your slides are ready?
Nothing.
We'll move on and come back to you. No guest speaker for this month, so let's start with committees. Karen, outreach, several items to cover.
Right, so first thing is, we had a great season at the farmer's market. We just did a Halloween event, which I hope some of you people were at, but Dave was an outstanding blue-green algae monster. It was outstanding. And of course, Phil did a good job as the spotted frog.
I have
The
some,
dead.
some
He was a
pictures.
zombie
Can you put 'em
one.
up?
Zombie
I hope so.
frog.
Yeah, the zombie frog. So our theme, just so everybody knows, was basically blue-green algae monster versus Healthy Lakes Hero. The Healthy Lakes Hero is over on the table over there. So that's our Healthy Lakes Hero. And that was actually on all of our 14 Mile candy that we handed out. So this was a town event that was done. It was actually hosted by the Row Makers. Barb was part of that. So it's Jess. And they basically had all the different businesses come in and hand out candy to the kids. It was on the 29th. It was a great event. Lots of kids came through.
What's that big glob there?
The hairy one?
It says
Yes.
BJA on the front.
The guy holding the orange little bowl is our blue-green algae monster. Unfortunately, that's not part of the costume. The
Oh,
little
the
fish
fish.
hanging is not part of the costume. So,
I didn't notice fish.
but anyway, so the fish, so we had fish hanging out. You really can't see that, but in the back, you could see what we would considered like the weeds, the lake weeds. That was done by Phil. He made all the lake weeds. Then we had fish hanging from the canopy. The canopy was supposed to be the water. On the sides, we had some blue-green algae ghosts that actually had blue-green algae cloth on them. And then I was the dorky looking Healthy Lakes hero. So, actually, I was a cone head. But anyways, a blue cone head. But so we went and we had several meetings. To be honest with you, the whole time we were planning this, we kept saying, we're not going to win the trophy. We kept saying it. And before you sits the trophy. So just goes to show you, when you set your expectations low, sometimes you can win. So we're very happy though that we won. We did it all on a shoestring. We barely spent any money on this. We did a lot of work though. And so we're really proud of the fact that we did that. And the kids really enjoyed seeing our blue-green algae monster. They had a lot of fun with
Some of them
that.
got real big eyes.
Yeah.
I think the concept is what fun.
Yeah, so we had a theme. We went with, well, obviously, we're a watershed group that's working on the environment. So instead of doing just like Harry Potter or any of those things, the Minions, we decided to stick with what we knew. So we know blue-green algae, all that kind of stuff. So that's what we went with, and it seemed to work. So we're very excited about that. All right, and so we also have the Winter's Farmers Market coming up. That will be, the first one will be on December 2nd. So unfortunately, I can't be there. I realize that Dave is going to be there. I don't know if anybody's going to be there. Are you going to be there?
Yeah.
Dave and Phil will host it. But then we're going to need people to be there for the rest of them. And there's only one a month. So it's not like it's really difficult to get a lot of people for this. For the summer, we were doing every week. So the next one, and I'll put it out on an email, but the next ones are January 13th. It's February 10th, March 10th, April 14th is the last one. So basically, there's not that many of them. They're from 12 to 3:30. And they are on, I think these are on Fridays. Huh? Wait, it's, yeah, I think they're on Fridays. So I'm hoping we can get enough people to man all these. The other thing that I wanted to go over is we had a field trip this, when was that? It was that October? That was in October. And we had a great turnout with the kids. Gus Nekoosa, who is unfortunately not able to be here, actually met, I guess, had a meeting with Mike Schoenfeld from the Nekoosa High School. And they went over, what the kids thought about it. And he sent me this really nice synopsis of what was going on. So basically what he said is the positives they thought of the field trip were that, let's see, where is it? Positives. They were happy about the fact that the kids were able to learn about possible careers. So that goes with Anna and Colton, who were nice enough to help them with that. And then the watershed and the challenges. And then they were able to learn about native plants on our shoreline right here. The areas of improvement they talked about were that they didn't want to sit. The kids sat for hours as we went over our presentations. Evidently, kids don't like doing that. To be honest with you, neither do I. So that was not something we should do next time. They are talking about getting together for a spring field trip, which I hope will be a little bit better. Mike is going to let us know. This is all in the works. Mike wants to get us all together, Anna, Colton, everybody else who presents. That would be Kyle and Sarah. Get us together for a Zoom call. I'm hoping we can arrange that with all of us. And then he wanted us and you guys to get together to go to the Nekoosa High School and do a presentation again, right there at the high school. So I'm hoping we can orchestrate this and get it going. So I'll be sending emails, or Gus will be sending emails, so look for those. And then, let's see, what was the next thing? I have the watershed highway signs, but I'm not really the person who's orchestrating that. So
Phil's
I'll let
kind of the
Phil.
lead on that.
Yeah, Phil is more,
Could you pull up a screen, like do a quick Google search for something like watershed boundary highway signs and just see what comes up to lead a little bit of discussion?
Oh, well, I have some examples, but I don't know how quickly I can access them.
yeah. So basically, we're looking at putting up signs, not just saying 14-mile watershed, but having maybe some photos on it of the watershed. It's kind of an informational sign, more or less. There's not a lot of ones I found. You probably found more than I did.
Yeah, there's a variety of them out
Right.
there. There's two types of signs that we're talking about here.
I mean, I've seen kind of the standard blue and white that might have a little bit of a graphic on it, but, or green and white or blue and white. But then there's some real nice ones, Laura. There must
They're
be some
really
money around
beautiful.
Chesapeake Bay or something.
It is, that's what it was,
They got some
Chesapeake
really-
Bay. So they said, welcome to the watershed, and then they have these beautiful signs.
Do you want me to give an update on those signs now? I see there's, looks like we have
Yeah,
another item
You know,
coming up.
since we don't have a speaker, we've got a little bit more time.
All right, well, well, let me, I'll tell you where we're at. I have good news. The Pat Kodlowski, the Adams County Highway Commissioner, has agreed to put up our 14-mile creek signs at the bridges on County D and County Z. And his shop will manufacture the signs and install them at no cost.
Wow,
He expects
that's
to
amazing.
have them in before the ground freezes. So
That's coming up
there
soon.
is top priority, it is. The work order,
So on the S, so a D, like where it crosses the road on the S curve,
right,
and then a Z.
Z where at the mouth of the creek.
So they can do the county road, obviously, without the state.
Yes, right. So that's a piece of the project for road
But
signs.
the price is right too.
Yeah, well, and the other interesting thing is that in the conversations with Pat, he expressed that he felt this was a really good idea to identify water bodies in the county. And he's going to start a program to do additional signs throughout the county where there are streams, crossing county roads. And but he promised that our two would be the first ones done.
We're
So
number one.
We're number 1 and 2. So, and of course, the other piece is the watershed signs. And Don and I are continuing to work on that. I've had a conversation with, what's his name here? Al Smith from the Department of Transportation, the Central Wisconsin area road sign. He's the contact. It wasn't clear to him whether our watershed sign fits any of the categories for state highway signs. So I've got to call into to Al to try to set up a meeting between he and Don and I to talk about how we could, which category we could get a sign in. We'd even be willing to put it on private property if it was required. I know the southern boundary is on Arrowhead property, so we might have a in there if we could get the agreement from them to put that's the south boundary. The north boundary is up. Oh, it's what at Akron Drive or Avenue. I can't remember which it is. Yeah, and we could probably identify who owns that land if it became necessary to put it on private land. We might be able to approach the landowner. So we're working on that, and I'll keep you posted on any progress.
It's funny how long it takes to just get this done.
Oh, yeah.
To get approval to do something like
Yeah.
this.
And the
It's
county,
like it's never been
the
done.
county was fairly easy once we found the right person and explained what we wanted to do. The state is gonna be a little bigger challenge.
Sounds like it, sounds like it. So, the only other thing I want to mention is I've been also corresponding with Tanya, who's part of Gold. She's very happy and excited that we want to get together with Packers and all the other groups. And so we're trying to fit that in for after the holidays, which will be in January. That's what she had said to me. I don't know if she said the same thing to you, but, so we're working on that. Everybody's very excited about it, so we can start networking, which is something that we really need to get into more. So I'm really excited that we're gonna get together with them hopefully soon. The only other thing I was gonna talk about is, as a group, one of the things I think we should do more of, because we're getting to the slow months, is we should think of other ways that we can be part of the community. Because other than the farmer's market during the winter, there's not much that we can do. So, and also, when I went to, we had a lake leaders reunion, where we were talking about the things that we were all invested in as lake leaders in our community. And the thing that I talked about was the plan to use the native vegetative mats for the seasonal and, the full-time residents who don't have the time or, the ability to put in their own. So, and we would use high school kids, so it would be more expensive. So I said, I need funding opportunities. And one of the things they mentioned is sponsoring different events. Now, the event that would be great if we could sponsor would be the fishery, because Gold sponsors their fishery, which they make a lot of money at, but that's taken. So I think if we could just,
Kind of taken by Lakeshore.
I know, right, and so I hope we can put our heads together and figure out some other funding opportunities. It doesn't have to be in the winter, obviously it can be in the summer. One of the things I was thinking of is they just had the New York Marathon. Maybe we could do a hike for Healthy Lakes in the spring, or maybe during the summer, where people get sponsorships from their friends. If they do so many miles, they can get whatever, something like that. So maybe we could think of something like that, but we should all be thinking of funding opportunities. It can't just, I think that's one of our bigger challenges is to find that out. And also legacy, we've never really presented for anything else, have we? We haven't gone to them for, I think we should think about, putting together something on this. I
One
mean,
idea, Karen,
what was that?
Peppermill Lake, they had a boat decorating contest, and I don't know how exactly they did it, but they have a boat decorating contest and parade, and then maybe make a traveling trophy like you guys got. I don't know if they have to pay an entry fee or something like that. It's
Yeah.
small, but get your name out there. Peppermill Lake did that, so.
That's a good idea. That's
I know there was a small boat parade event on 4th of July. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
And Camelot has one too for the July.
but there's, I
I
think
know
there's
a couple other
opportunities.
winter
out there.
activities too. I know that there's a 5K run coming up on Thanksgiving Day by one of the.
I saw that.
And there's
Yeah.
a snowshoe hike that's going to be scheduled in February.
Those are the kind of things I think we should start thinking on. I mean, I don't know the area as much as a lot of, other people who have lived here a long time, but we should start thinking about how we get our name out there. And those are the kind of opportunities we should be jumping at, anything we can do, especially during the winter. Because I always talk about this in marketing, there's this thing called top of mind. You gotta keep, your group at the top of people's minds. And unfortunately, using social media isn't working. We don't have a lot of people who are using it a lot, so we need to find other ways.
On that note, I had spoken to Visit Rome. They were putting together at this time, it was a month or two ago, farmers market, but Lisa was working on the advertising spread for what is it called? It's the pamphlet of the book, Visit Rome.
Okay,
And I was talking about, if you've got local features in there to do, especially for people who are looking at that for homes and places, a featurette page, like a half page on shoreline practices. to show like, hey, blah, blah, vibrant community, whatever kind of, stuff they want to put in there. These are the sorts of things that we're doing and that plays in for ecotourism and for, subsegments of the population that want that on the lake shores, and that helps encourage them, to invest in that and to see that, okay, that's something desirable as an advertising, because it is. I mean, if you have that diversity of experiences and aesthetics. So anyway, we could do something like that. I started asking her, for Adams County, but it's kind of hard to make Adams County a feature on that without. She's like, well, it's got to be very positive. I'm like, yeah, so it's kind of hard to talk about. I'm like, well, maybe 14 Mile would want to do that, just talking about shoreline practices and doing a collaborative one on that. But that's somewhere else to get that name out, to say, hey, shoreline practices, your shore could look like this, have our, a picture that is demonstration, like a picture of the demonstration project. So, and that's very touristy that they
I think
could
that's
use and
good.
put in there.
So Lisa would be the person. with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know if it's too late or not. I think they already did their spread,
They
but
did, okay.
I don't know if they did. So that's.
Well, I'll contact them when I have it. So,
Question.
oh, go ahead.
Gail, you have a question? Remote? Oh, maybe
Ask-
that's,
just
oh,
ask
I thought it was a hand raise.
Oh, no.
Oh, I
So
get it,
that's
I get it, I
the,
get
that's
it.
the first.
All right.
Never mind.
So Barb, is there any like Christmas party for the kids here?
They're the first Saturday is sponsored by the Snow Bandits.
Oh, so they do that?
Yeah, they do
Okay.
that.
I was just wondering if there was something else that was the town of Rome.
Yeah.
Then all the
So they have
the
the Christmas
businesses
tree
can-
lighting.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe we could, I consider, could be like paralleling, but like the day of the fisheries, the ice is good. Doing a marathon, either snowshoe walk or a run around on the ice. I mean, it's still water, it's just frozen. And,
The only thing is, I don't want anybody to get
People do, I
hurt.
mean, people do like golf tournaments on the ice and, I mean, turkey bowling and, there's all kinds of silly stuff.
Well, we should look into
There's
that.
potential.
Yeah, we should look into that. Maybe start, I don't know if we can do it this year, but we should look into it for maybe next year. Just so we have like one event during the winter that keeps our name fresh in people's minds. So I just thought I'd throw that out. I think that's it. Oh,
You
and I,
guys, you guys do a polar plunge here?
okay.
yes.
Oh my gosh.
So are you ready for with Colton slides yet, or?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe we'll have to get Anna to help us with this.
Colton's capable.
I can do it.
Huh? So how can I, well, yeah, but I have to get to a
Colton
way.
can help you.
There it is right
It's
here.
right there. You just
Come on,
gotta
Anna,
click
it's the
on it.
youngest sister.
All right.
to help with
So
the
tell them which
technology.
one.
Just the Lael and cranberry
The
testimony.
layout with cranberry. It's on the back.
Right
pile,
here?
like that
Yep,
brings
that
us up.
Is it a PowerPoint? Well, it should load here.
It's taking. some time. There you go.
And then. So where's this start? I can't
You
read
might
it
want
from
to
here.
share your screen first.
Yeah. How do you,
Yeah,
Oops.
share your screen
before you do this?
before you
Give me
hit
that.
present.
Go ahead.
I don't think I can start this
You can.
after I share. Okay. All right. I don't have,
Yeah, go back to Zoom, the blue circle at the bottom.
The Zoom. Go to the
Right?
right, yeah, the right one.
And then share screen.
start.
Now hit share and you're done. There you
Well, we
go.
have to start.
But you
If that's sharing now, you can do whatever you want on
And then
the
you-
screen and it'll mirror.
View and then select your.
Perfect. Wow, way to go, Bill.
Thank you, Anna.
Yeah.
Can we check with somebody online?
Scott,
This is
can you
display.
see Scott Bordeaux, can you see the presentation being presented?
Is it Leola cranberry testing?
Yep,
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So Colton, DNR, Scott, not here. So just to start off, the Leo, I'll understand. So there's a couple of different types of natural denitrification, which is like the process that we're doing to get lower amounts of nitrogen throughout the system before it gets to the lakes and then eventually to the Wisconsin River. There's some like the cranberry reservoirs themselves. There's reduction below the reservoirs. So like the cranberry reservoirs, they're pretty much like a wetland to a degree without all the cattails and stuff. So they have a lot of like organic material in them. So they're able to break down a lot of the nitrates and nitrites, which is the main concern for all the algae blooms and a lot of the algae blooms. And there's also some bacteria that can break down the nitrates and nitrites into like nitrogen gas. There's other nitrogen reductions below the reservoirs. A lot of your streams and stuff do a lot of the same things. A lot of the plants will uptake a lot of nitrogen as well. And then we were kind of doing like I said, this test plot on one of the cranberry properties, kind of taking like a start and an end point and a couple of ones in between. And what we learned is that obviously cranberry growers don't like inorganic nitrogen, which is your nitrates, nitrites, and also ammonia. But so they don't like it because it kind of puts a lot of stress on the plants and they get a lot of leaf litter. I couldn't find a picture of the leaf litter, but the property that we went to, they have to get like complete dump truck loads off of like every one of those cranberry fields of just the dead leaf litter that comes from those cranberry plants because of so much of the nitrogen on their fields. Whereas there's some fields just even below that, below this one, so they have less nitrogen and they only need like a truckload per field. So you see these ones that have a lot of nitrogen going through their fields. It's a lot of stress on some of the plants compared to some of the ones more downstream of them. They don't have as much stress. Just a little bit of background there. So this is the area. I don't know if I can do this thing, but yeah. So I think people online can see it too, but site A is up here. And then this is the cranberry facility we were working with. It was Layla Cranberry. So that's them up here. This is your county road. Is that 73? Yep, county road 73 up here. And I think this is 6th Ave right here. So there's a site upstream before it gets into the cranberry fields themselves. So we took a sample there and we did this, I think it was like 5 or 6 months, and we just did one the other day. So we'll hopefully get some results post harvesting just to see if there's any difference from during the growing season, if there's any changes in the nutrients. And then we also took a site here at B and a site here at C, which so kind of all the water goes down into here. It comes this way, goes into this area, drops into that reservoir. Some of it then goes into this reservoir, then it goes down to here, and then this one, the water goes down here through this ditch into this drop basin, and it has actually a small area right here that it also goes out. And some of the water from here also goes here. So this one's gonna probably be lower than B because it just has more time to do a lot of the denitrification and reduce the amount of nutrients. And then finally we have D, which was the last site on the property. This is actually owned by a different producer. So this was the last site that we did, and that one actually drops down, and then this goes, I don't know which Ave that is. It looks like L Avenue or something. Yeah, so then that drops, and then there's that big other reservoir wetland down here. But And then this eventually goes down to the S curve on D there, where we've been taking a lot of samples. 14 miles, been taking a lot of samples there too. And those concentrations have usually been down around 1 to 2 milligrams per liter. Is the unit we measure it. It's also the same as ppm. So you can use those interchangeably.
So is that, what is 1 to 2? What is that like? Is that
1 to
good,
2,
medium,
yeah,
low,
it's
high?
decent. Yeah, I'm gonna show on the next slide, actually. Good question. So there's standards for total phosphorus and total nitrogen. The total phosphorus, we actually do have a state standard. It's in NR 10206. And for streams, it's 0.075 to 0.1 milligrams per liter is what the state set standard usually is. And then for lakes, it's 0.05 to 0.04. And those are just kind of set standards. They aren't, they're not like enforced. They're just standards that we set to achieve good water quality. It's not like if it's above that, that it's gonna be a slap on the wrist and we're gonna issue fines or anything. It's just a set standard that we use to determine good water quality. And then total nitrogen, there are no standards set in Wisconsin. We've had go-arounds trying to set some standards. It's a lot of higher up stuff above me and Scott's pay grades. Up above that, but there is a EPA one that threshold that was put into place back in 2002. And for streams, just for our significance that we were worrying about, it's 0.12 to 2.2. So some of the streams in the 14 mile do fall into that, but in our area, we do have a lot of agricultural, so we kind of way higher on the higher end, and that's for the whole US. So it's not just for Wisconsin, that's throughout the whole US. And then just as a little note, I know Scott said this a lot, but 0.3 milligrams per liter of inorganic nitrogen, which is your nitrates, nitrites, and ammonia, is enough to sustain algae blooms. So just to note that again, because that's a big issue that we have around here. So I think it's blocked off up there, but
You can move or minimize
Is it?
that.
yeah. This
Yeah,
one's-
he wants to move that one too.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so I got average total nitrogen and average total phosphorus. And those orange lines show those standards that I noted before. So I'll start over on the phosphorus. The phosphorus is a lot lower, which is good. We don't have a big problem with that. Whereas your total nitrogen, it's pretty high. So site A is that one before it comes into any of the cranberry fields. Then as you see, we go through, the amount of nitrogen is lowered to right around that standard. So it does a lot of good going through those cranberry fields and reservoirs. It's taken up a lot of that nitrogen that would otherwise go straight into the tri-lakes. So, I mean, if you have the 12, that's going to be a big problem, where to the 2, that's a lot better and not as much of an issue. So they take up a lot of the nitrogen, even though they don't want any of that nitrogen. They would rather see that 2 at the top and it going down to like 0.01 or something. But that's how it is for there. And that's just an average. I think I have another slide. Yeah. So this one has a little bit more on it, but this one shows the nitrate and nitrite, which compared to the total nitrogen isn't much of a change, because a lot of the nitrogen in the water is nitrate and nitrite. There's not much of the ammonia or the TKN, which is total Caljar nitrogen. It's another form, but those ones aren't absorbed by plants as much as the nitrate and nitrite would be. So this kind of just shows you the times that we went out there. We went out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We went 6 times total. I haven't got the results. It'll be about another month, but so that's just kind of showing.
So it's really interesting that they're not like the same.
No, they're not the
They're,
same.
they're
Yeah.
all doing different things.
Yeah. So
each
that
site.
that top one
Yeah,
is the A.
right,
That's that first site.
right.
So it kind of ranges between 10 and 12 usually. It was a little bit higher on the last time. And then you see site B, it's usually around that 6 to 8. It was a little bit lower our last go around. And then the site C was right around that 5 to 6, 7. And then that last site before it leaves the whole fields and reservoirs, it's down just above 2, 3 to, yeah, about 3 to 1, 1 to 3. So it's a good note to see. We're hopefully going to do some more looks at that with some other producers in the future here. We'll hopefully kind of get a study going possibly with some of the specialists and the DNR that do some more of the research. And then hopefully we can learn from this and then just see if it's the same for other areas as well. And
So
what kind of
you
thing we
did
do with
the
it.
good guys. When I
Yeah.
say good, that aren't contributing to us, that's why we like it. But, so are you gonna do the potato farmers and the other vegetable farmers?
So we haven't had any talk of that. We're trying to work on some best management practices. That's about all we can do right now. We've done some testing. I think Scott noted that discharge well before. It had high nitrogen, kind of like above your 12 and stuff. And we're working on best management practices to try to combat that and lower those amounts before they go further downstream.
Right.
And I mean, with all this stream sampling you guys have done, we're kind of able to know where the hot spots are in the stream.
Okay.
And we can work with what Michael Parson put together with that groundwater model.
Yeah,
And we can kind of figure out where best management practices would best be put, so we can see a quicker turnaround on those concentrations getting lowered. Because some of those fields, like it takes what 20 to 40 years sometimes to go across one of the egg fields. Whereas if we do a lot of these management practices closer towards the streams and then areas where the groundwater is moving a lot faster, because a lot of it's groundwater influence because of our sand. It just goes right down to the ground
Right.
table. So we have to work with the groundwater a lot. And that's what Michael Parson showed last time. So we're able to work with that in those areas where it's only like a year to 2.5 years. We can put a best management practice in. And then after those 2 to 3 years, take some more monitoring samples and see if there's been a change
yeah.
instead of waiting 20, 40 years to even see a change.
Right.
So that's kind of what we got in the works moving forward.
Okay.
But it doesn't happen unless the producer comes forward to make it.
Yeah. Yep.
So where the levels are going down, where is that nitrate, where is it going? Is it staying in the fields where the cranberries are raised or in the reservoir?
So that one that was lower is site D. So that's kind of going right. This again. So that last one where it was a lot of the lower concentrations, it's going into this. It's getting dumped out of here, and then it's kind of going down, and then it should be going across. And I believe it goes through this one again. It goes through this reservoir, and I don't have the numbers up with me right now, but if you saw like a bigger map, I think it's part of the Leoa ditch.
I think
Leoa stream. It goes down and it's not much less than the 2. It's like down to like 1 to 2.
I think
So-
But where is the
Yeah.
nitrogen
where is
going?
it going?
Oh,
So
where's the
as
nitrogen
it's-
Yeah, where
going?
does it go?
What's
As it
taking
goes through
up
the
and what's
process.
utilized.
As it's going through the,
Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah, so where you saw it was like up to 12 or stuff, and then it goes down is like 2. So a lot of it's getting taken up by all the plants in the reservoirs themselves. A lot of it's going either back into the atmosphere through like there's
denitrification?
denitrification.
Yeah.
So there's bacteria that eat up the nitrogen in the water, and then that gets released. There's also, if it's exposed to any like kind of carbon sources, carbon eats up a lot of your nitrates and nitrates, and it will release it as gas as well back into the atmosphere, which is already the majority of nitrogen gas anyways. It's like 70% nitrogen gas, your atmosphere anyways, so that all just goes back up into there. It's just natural processes, pretty much.
Yeah,
It's
those
like a
wetland
wetland.
area.
It's a
Yeah.
wetland, right,
It's super rich
Right.
in nutrients. It's not
right.
it's not been cut over and all there is sand. There's still a lot of your organic matter, is what we call it. And it's just high amounts of carbon and stuff that's been decomposed over years that's been on top of all the sand layer. So
Wetlands are like. sponge.
yeah, it pretty much sponges up.
So if we could, I always think that we should, if there's property, if we ever had money, if there was property that was available in the in our watershed that we could buy and then turn into a wetland.
Yeah.
That would be ideal. That would be ideal. But
Yeah,
that's, and some groups do that. Some nonprofits, literally, one of the nonprofits in the Lake Leaders group spent $850,000 to buy a piece of property. They spent years it was like 4 or 5 years to raise the money, and they did it. So when I was at the reunion, they said, we finally had enough money to buy this piece of property. And they're trying to protect their watershed so they don't have the issues we have. We're more in a crisis mode, so we need to do this more than anybody else, but they really worked hard on that. So I think we should, that should be something. on the
Occasionally,
agenda.
there's also grant money to help support those kind of activities too. And you could be looking at purchasing buffers along a stream or purchasing easement of a buffer, which is cost less, but still about 90% of.
So, DACAP, DNR will pay 50% cost to do wetland restoration. That other 50% is still a considerable amount of money. So even landowners who might be interested in it, it's still tough now. Sheriff County has a program where they have money set aside out of the county budget to help offset that cost, take it to 70%. That still leaves a considerable amount of money to be spent, especially with current prices for contractors. So that might be something to consider, that if there is somebody, especially as the 9-gallon plan moves forward and as you guys' efforts move forward, if there are property owners who would like to do wetland restorations, there's a lot of recreational land out there. There's a lot of hunting land that would be, take that from poplars to swamp, and you get the swamp bucks. It works for them really well. That might be an opportunity where, if the TNC, if private landowners, if any other kind of easements are, an option, maybe greasing those wheels by offering a little bit more help at cost share. That could be something you guys could look into if that's of interest, but that is quite an expenditure of capital. So, something down the road to look at.
Well, like I said, this lady, she did it, her group
Right.
did it. So it's possible.
There was 40 acres available of state land here a couple of years ago. Folks, David and some of the older people might remember that.
Yeah.
I don't know whatever became of that. It's a possibility that it was not sold. And
DNR owned it, didn't it?
It's a state land.
Yeah, it was state land.
And it is adjacent to one of the drainage ditches. I didn't look at it as carefully as I should have, and I might have put the kibosh to the whole thing. I'm thinking that I'm certainly not a civil engineer. So whether or not it was possible to make that into a wetland, being adjacent to a stream the way it is, remains to be seen. But it's something that might be worth looking into if that's the desire of the group to look at something more in that augmented line.
It's still there. Indeed, our property's wrapped up in the Prairie Chicken Lands just north of the Leola ditch. They bought that off of the Tulas because it was unfarmable, but or the Burns, I forget which. But
No,
Yes.
this is not that.
Not that one?
No, this is contiguous with the state land that is actually part of the drainage that runs under the 8th Avenue Bridge. It's up on the east end
up
of
on
that.
that end. Okay.
It's a completely different
Yeah.
thing.
So, well, in either case, I think one of the things to keep in mind is that, like that property that district, along Leola, that 40-acre, or the one by the 8th Ave Bridge, is that a lot of cases, those actually are wetlands for all intended and purpose, except the vegetation is different. It's really a matter of that water table that makes the difference for denitrification. And so in a lot of cases, it wouldn't actually take terribly much to make it function as a wetland again. If it's in those locations, it's usually got trees on it, so the water table's been suppressed, usually through drainage and alteration. But that's, those are prime, very easy to convert back to fully functioning wetlands.
Well, you've got the native seabed there
Yep.
already.
It'll be interesting to see like denitrification. Project
Right.
out by Owens Rock, where
Right.
all
Yeah.
you need to do,
Right.
a couple ditch plugs and you brought the water.
And since there's so many ditches already everywhere else, you don't really have to worry about flooding anything or backing anything up anywhere else, because
It doesn't affect.
the ditch is already there, although,
Yeah.
John can speak to that more, but I think that's I wanted to add my voice to what John was saying, is that, you can do a lot, with even very small acreage. The water, wetlands are some of the most efficient denitrifiers we could possibly put anywhere in the wetland, anywhere in the watershed. And they work for millennia.
So basically, the cranberry growers are like providing wetlands.
Yes.
Yep.
So we should get more cranberry. We should do this big, marketing thing. Come to our place.
Yeah, that's the thing with the cranberry growers, that they're between you guys and upstream, and they're taking the brunt of a lot of the high
I know.
nitrogen, and yet we have people constantly, suspicious of them and berating them and pointing fingers at them, and they're taking a lot of bullets for everybody, and it's kind of
Well,
wearing
that's
down.
something we can do. I mean, we can put out the word that some of the growers in the area are doing a lot of beneficial things for our watershed. I mean, that's something we should think about, trying to get that up. Maybe at the State of Lakes, we can mention it. Maybe we can get the cranberry growers to come in and talk. Those are all the things we should think about.
The fact that they're cooperating with the kind of research.
Exactly. That says a lot right there.
Maybe you could invite them to an upcoming meeting.
All right, Dave.
Yeah, some more Forest Colton.
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Unless you want to see my contact.
You on the spot for a little bit, Kyle? We kind of jumped over your regular report issue. We're a few minutes
But
late.
you were tardy.
I was, yeah.
It was just that.
Shame, Karen knows your name.
I know, Tardy is the first one after a year.
No, I was joking.
Well, I was tardy because I was working on the grant for the mailers and the stakeholder event. I had to get a copy of that out to some reviews before it's due tomorrow. So that should be done pending Scott Provost's blessing. That will be turned in tomorrow. It's all dialed in and lined up. We got our letter of support. Thank you, 14 Mile, for submitting one. And then also some maps, some other auxiliary data we had to add to that, but it's all packaged up and ready to go. We've also got the Carolyn submitted the Healthy Lakes grant today, so we'll have those two grants coming through. And then those will be our two grants for the DNR.
You happen to know what the number of landowners or projects or whatever on the Healthy Lake side?
4 or 6? Like 4.
Or in 10 projects. I wrote it
Four
down,
projects,
so-
4 landowners?
Yeah.
No, 10 projects before that.
Yeah,
That's right.
it's 4 landowners, yeah.
But 10 projects is pretty good.
Yeah, that's-
What do we do?
I'll tell you when we get to it.
Okay. Sorry.
Aside from that, I'm working with the extension, DNR, and a couple of other folks, including Anna, to try to identify the specific barriers on best management practices in ag land, and trying to work through that with producers to get their feedback and what they like to do and how they see innovation and opportunities for improvement in these sorts of agricultural systems for nitrogen, especially given the constraints for the production system, the business model, the industry as a whole. And that's something that's needed a lot more evaluation and consideration than we find the typical standards for the state. They are defined largely by corn and soybean dairy rotation. That's what dominates the state, and so the state standards are built for that, transitioning it into 9 major crops, where your 9th major crop is all the other crops you didn't list in the first 9. It's challenging. And so, coming to terms with that reality and working with the producers directly to identify where we can make progress with the low-hanging fruit are, working with the groundwater contributing models to kind of identify demonstration projects that we can get good data off of to demonstrate how effective it is to get more support for them. The producers, it's not like they're not interested in things or in practices or in reducing nitrogen. It's costs them a considerable amount, but before they're going to go and tear anything up or stop doing anything or changing their production system, they want to see data. They want to, know that it does not have risks. They want to know that it doesn't have strings attached. They want to know that they're not putting their neck out, and that if they are going to take that risk and put their neck out, that it's actually going to make a difference, right? Because if we just went out and everybody does, this hot new practice, this coconut oil or aloe vera, whatever it is, giving them the assurances that it has as many properties and benefits as it says on the cookie tin. And since there's so little work actually done in vegetable production with those standards, it's hard to be able to say, oh, this is what you should be able to expect out of it. So we kind of have to, approach that caution and skepticism with an open mind and understand that we're making progress. That's a big initiative. We're working.
Okay, any questions, Kyle? If not, we'll jump back on down to 8B. What can you tell us about simulate testing?
Oh,
Other
sure.
than the poor Dave hasn't been able to participate.
yeah. Oh, good. Glad to hear it. Get your insulated waders. I think I mentioned last month that we wrapped up the lake testing in early October. And I finally got the data from the lab, and all the that information is on our website in graphical form as well as tabular form. So if you have any interest, take a look at it. On October 23rd, we did our October stream testing, and it actually was a very nice day. And we're going out on November 27th this month, and probably not expecting a very nice day. So anyway, we'll get it done in any case.
Yeah, we practically got another growing season this fall.
Yeah, that's all I have, Dave.
Okay, question for Phil? Okay, we'll move on. Grant portion. Let me drop down first of all, Healthy Lakes. I have to see a physician specialist tomorrow, and of course, they've all pulled out of Rapids, and I have to go to Wausau every time I see the specialist with this virus now. So, so I buckled down, got our Healthy Lakes application in today. It actually turned out there were 32 folks interested this year, ended up with 6 actually applying for 10 projects. So I also put in, I'm not sure exactly. I talked to Gina Keenan, who with DNR who processes the payments. I've been trying to get hold of Pam Toshner for weeks. Can't get a return call or email. So anyway, you can get a 10% administrative costs added on your grant. So I did that, but I'm still a little unsure just exactly how that could be used. I mean, a lot of things I'd like to get paid, reimbursed a little bit for us for like all the mileage to go around and see these 30 plus folks a year, but I'm going around now and seeing folks, but it's for the 2023 grant, so the grant doesn't even take effect until March of 2023, so can I roll that forward? You know, when we were more associated with Tri-Lakes, administrative costs probably could have included something like administrative costs for staff there that were helping to process payments and stuff. But if we're volunteers, you know, can we charge any administrative fees? I mean, I know what I think my time is worth, but I don't know.
$15 an hour is the max.
What's that?
$15 per hour is the max you can attribute for volunteer time on the grants.
But it can only be used as a match. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get paid for
The
it.
in-kind, yeah.
So it's in kind.
Well, that means he's overpaid.
So anyway, so the good news
That
is
was
two
good.
of the 10 projects, two are fish sticks this year. So it's the first time we're doing
I'm sure.
private land fish stick.
Yeah.
I got really close last year, but then
Good job.
the signatures didn't come through quite on time. I thought they were backing out, and I contacted to get them this year, and they're willing to go ahead. They were a little concerned about 10-year maintenance requirement, and I can understand that. They're on Lake Sherwood. It's two neighbors side by side, so that gives you more points on the application too. Is if you have a neighbor who has
I wanted
a
to,
health project, so.
I want to say, today I just started going back to the gym, so I'm gonna be ready for those fish sticks. I think Anna's finger has recovered. So,
Smashed it, you're no longer able to work in the same room together.
Oh, no.
so we're ready.
So we're ready.
Yeah.
My biggest deal right now is lining up trees, about 30 trees again. I actually got a phone call today, somebody on private property said that they got 3 or 4 trees that need to be harvested, so I need to get back to them and find out whether it's reasonable to be able to haul from wherever their location is. And people don't always understand that it has to be live trees. So dead trees, I don't think it would be any problem getting 30 dead, but live trees is a little tougher, so
Do they have to be evergreens?
no.
Okay, because usually that's what you have.
It's probably, well,
That's what you've been doing.
they're easier to find and they're easier to haul. They're more compact. They fit on a trailer better than these gangly oaks do.
Yeah.
But as far as lasting, the
can't beat those.
hardwoods are would you preferable. But it's sometimes you go with what you got.
Well,
So-
congratulations for getting 10. That's great. That really is
So we
great.
should be good on that. I checked, I got a reply that it did get delivered. It hasn't been read yet, but at least officially Solaris tells me that the email went through, so. Surface water grants, I wanted to just really briefly touch on where we're at with our surface water grant. We have a bunch of things we were doing, and I wanted to, some of the things like the 9 key element plan brochure, I think we're not doing that, but Kyle's doing that, but questions are still abound, like, are we going to help with some mailing costs? Do we need,
Right.
or, you know, or are we just gonna help stuff envelopes and,
Right.
you know, kind of have that kind of in-kind roll with that or what, so anyway, I just want to run through the list of because actually our grant, our education grant goes through December of 2023, so it's next year, but kind of the winter is our downtime where we're gonna get caught up on a lot of this stuff. A lot of it falls in Karen's lap because she's our designer on all these things. So one of the first things though was we actually want to design and get out a hard copy newsletter with mailing. So
When do you
know,
want to have that done?
what's that?
When do you want to have that done?
That's part of the discussion. When do we want to have that done? I would kind of think spring would be a good time to get folks interested in
So
visiting with us and thinking about healthy lakes, that kind of stuff.
So my suggestion, because this is very intense, is that we do a separate meeting, like we do with the Halloween party or whatever.
Oh, sure.
State of Lakes, yeah, we have to get
Oh,
together
we
and,
definitely have. to.
Yeah,
I just
'cause that's the-
want to just kind of
right, touch
hash
on
out
it.
a couple things here.
Yeah.
We've got a little more time today.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I
so-
think we want to make sure we don't send it out at the same time that Kyle is sending his mailing.
Mhm.
That we'd have a bigger impact if we can kind of coordinate the timing on it.
Especially if we figure out one before the other, and then that kind of recognition, you know, if folks say, oh, I know what this is, then maybe just put it in the dumpster as quickly. Or if we send it in the winter, these heavy duty cars.
Okay, the next thing is our Healthy Lake Hero sign and you get feedback to kind of decide on the quantity.
You know, that's up to you guys. I mean, I've been doing less research on where to buy them, but it's really, I'm not even sure. You guys like said this is fine. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've changed it.
I think with those
multiple
couple
times.
changes we made after getting feedback from the,
Yeah. So basically, there's a QR code, and that goes to the 14 Mile Watershed, your website. And so, and then at the bottom, we said, become a hero at 14mile.org. So it's more of that. To be honest with you, I'm not sure this is going to show up as well with the background. You know, these are the kind of things until you see it in a sign, you don't know.
I would recommend not having a background.
Yeah.
Just in color.
See, that's what this was the original one. So that's the original one. Just go with that.
Is that a distance? It's
Okay.
gonna-
That's what I was worried about. So I will change it again. This thing is taking me literally hours. and hours.
Background with the white text.
I'm gonna do the white. I'm gonna do the white.
Which-
So what I might do is do a little, the problem is I can't do a darker background because Healthy Lakes, the Healthy Lakes logo has blue in it. So I could do the white lettering and I could, you know, the thing is the background either has to be a totally different color. And the problem I have with that is if it's sitting on somebody's property, I don't want it to look like an orange sign or a yellow sign or, you know, a sign color that people may not be comfortable with. So the reason I went with this background is because it went with the 14 Mile Clean Water Cooperator sign. So I'm trying to figure out what people will like. So the only thing I think I can do is I can maybe post these on the website, several different versions, and see if people want to decide, you know, they can vote on it. Or we can do, I can do a Facebook post and have people vote on it. Those are the
Hold them
two.
up together.
So, Karen, for the blue text on there,
Yeah.
you have a little bit of a white shadow, but I'd recommend doing a white halo. That works really well.
A white one.
A white halo, that works really well. Because what you need is contrast between the two colors.
I have a white hat on.
I would maybe even do a white.
Yeah, because that's more like a white shadow, but if you did a thicker halo all the way around, just to get more contrast.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing around with this. So this is, I mean, this is the hard part of this, is getting into a point where you can see it from a distance, that the letters are all clear and people can read it. So I'll keep working on it and I'll bring it to, you know, I'll share it at the next meeting. Oh, can the people see it online? Because if they can, that's kind of neat. So here we go.
One end of the hallway is
Oh,
Karen.
it's gonna be backwards. So if you can read backwards. So if you guys can read backwards. Yeah. All right, sorry about that. I think there's a way you can change that, but that's okay.
What are thoughts about single-sided where it would probably be parallel to the road or double-sided, so it's perpendicular.
Well, the thing is, we can't decide what people want to do with them, so I think we should always do double-sided.
Okay.
I really, because that's
I
what we
just
did
wanted
with the clean water cooperator.
And
So
they
I
might
really
put it
think-
lakeside rather than by the road.
Yeah,
I would think that would make more sense than to put them there.
I think so. But you know what? How do you tell people you have to put it there? We noticed that a lot of people in our neighborhood put theirs on the side of their house. Like they put it on the street side. Yeah. And I thought, in a way that kind of makes sense because as a lot more people drive down the streets than take their boats around. So, you're kind of saying to people. What a wise guy. Anyway, so I'm still working on it. Definitely give me more input. I like the halo. I'll work on that. But hopefully we'll get this done. I'd like to have these in by spring. So we can hand them out.
Yeah, heaven for the ground dogs.
We have like,
When the snow melts.
right, so we have like 50 people who've done healthy lake projects, completed them.
Probably including this next batch.
It will be 50 then? Okay. All right, just so I can get an idea of how much. All right, thank you.
Okay, next item is still kind of falls back to you, Karen, coasters
Oh,
or outreach.
well, the thing is, are we still doing the posters? I don't know, we're definitely doing them, okay.
What would we do
All right,
instead?
so, well, the thing is, if we're gonna do the coasters, we could do one of two things. If we do them, we could do our logo,
It's the right shape.
which is gonna be perfect, and that would be easy. Or we can do something where we do, like, we say something. I think one of the things that's wrong with the logo is we don't have our,
Don't have a message.
right, we don't have our website on it. You have to put your website address.
So do we shrink it down a little bit and do something around?
We could probably do
edges?
that. We could
I
do
mean,
that.
you could do double-sided, but people don't flip it over. They have
Well, I like the idea of shrinking it down and then I could put stuff on the bottom and the top.
Yeah.
So I could say 14mile.org and then I could say,
clean one or something.
yeah. Well, it says on the logo, what does it say? Committed to clean water. Yeah, 14-mile watershed
Yeah,
committed to
committed to
clean
clean
water.
water.
Yep.
You could just do like on the poster, put the website on top and then, or become a hero on top. And then post it.
Yeah, become a hero.
Yeah.
At 14mile.org.
How big are the posters? Are they like
Well, we have to, the thing that's hard with the coasters is we have to, before we do them, we have to make sure that somebody's gonna use them. If we just create all these coasters and then none of the local places will use them, like would Lake Shore Lodge use them?
I'm sure they would. Done,
Okay,
trying to think what the events were, but they've done like placemats and that kind of stuff.
okay.
So, yeah.
All right, so I will work on that. I'll start working on the coasters and I'll start sending out I'll work on getting this, tightened up.
Dave, Lynn, do you think Arrowhead would
Would they?
be interested in coasters?
I can ask you the board meeting tomorrow morning.
Beautiful.
Please let us know the response. Yeah. And then also.
I'm gonna say probably yes, because posters go out the door.
Yeah.
They're constantly looking for posters from the vendors.
Perfect.
But I will
Okay.
ask the board.
Great.
Thank you so much. And then we should work on Camelot. And then, that would probably be a lot of coasters just to be those three places. So I guess I need numbers if I'm gonna be pricing them out.
I'll get if they're willing, I'll ask.
Oh,
what
good.
Quantity they
Thank
think.
Perfect.
I can talk to you.
Perfect.
Let's see what we're. Our estimate on our grant anyway was for
How much?
7,500.
7,500. And what number did we put with that?
So
Did we,
$1,500.
1,500? That's my,
At that point, we estimated 20 cents a piece.
okay.
It's probably 30 cents a piece now.
I was gonna say, everything's gone up.
Everything is inflated.
Everything's gone up. the cost of the sign material has gone up. So,
Okay, next thing to keep on our radar is metal highway sign design. Bills on top of that, we'll get something nailed down over the winter here.
So look for those signs before we get a significant snow. If they get them in as fast as they say they can, then they'll be at
Initial ones. the
County
county is
D and County
price
Z.
would be better, so. Okay, 9 key element plan design brochure, we were thinking of something kind of geared toward homeowners, but Kyle, what kind of
Here's-
effort are you putting into that? And
Here it
what-
is right
what-
here.
What message are you?
So right now, there's a draft, like it's a basic framework. We're on that early in the year and then everything else summered, as it were, but that right now is a basic template, so it's sort of just a generic descriptor kind of Wikipedia level. And then from there, just framing it out, there's room to probably get a panel freed up. I'd like to get some of the technical language simplified and then get more pictures on here, but this iteration is looking at just explaining in general what the 9 key element plan is. That way, when you're talking about, you broach the conversation on water quality typically. And then you say, well, there is a plan for that. So assuming that when you hand this out, you've already had a water quality conversation, I think that I'd be really interested in making a 9 key, a 14-mile specific water quality brochure as well. Taking a lot of the things that are already available and putting it into a format that says it's saying specifically on these lakes, in these conditions, you'll see, making a bit more specific. So that would be a good complement to this. We could make it more targeted for activities, but I want to kind of avoid releasing any kind of specific community pamphlet before all the communities. So if we do one for agriculture, have release one for shorelines at the same time. Although with that consideration, there's already so much healthy lake stuff out there that I don't think there's really a need for that. So when it comes to agricultural production, I think it's more important to have, and this is something that we're working on, specific literature for best management practices. When we kind of look at that, then we kind of circle back to just a general document with a basic introduction of here's the fundamentals of what a 9 key element plan is, and here's how it applies. And that's what this is missing right now, is how does it apply to you as an individual stakeholder in this watershed, right? To individualize that, to localize it to this watershed, to have something in there that somebody from both the lakes and rural areas and upstream areas can identify with. So that's still some personalizing touches that need to be done there, but that's kind of my thought process on making a community specific one versus just a general one, because then it can be taken to board meetings, it can be taken to committee meetings, it can be taken to farmers markets. To have it as general as possible, so that way it can follow up any conversation. Because it might send a weird message if we go to the rack and we take off here's one for the lake owners and here's one for the farmers. They're like, well, why is it different? I thought everybody's contributing. And, that's a valid point. So that's some of the thoughts there, but I do have a few hard copies. I have, I think, 9. You guys wanted to make notes on them? Yeah, so if you guys wanted to make notes on them, feedback for your thoughts. I'm taking those again. This is the very first iteration. We kind of made it useful with format to be kind of what we might see at the end, and then build from here to try to localize it and again make it communicated
share
well
that with
to
us,
the
like
largest
other things?
possible audience. I think I have.
you know what? He shared it. I shared it with everybody and nobody really commented.
I
So,
don't remember seeing.
yeah, I sent it to everybody.
It was an email, but I did bring some hard copies. You guys can-
This was a while back. This was back in May. But, it was in May, because I just looked at the email. But anyways, Rachel commented on it and then I commented.
Yeah. So I got a little bit of feedback.
Right, but one of the things I wanted to mention is if you continue to use this, we did do some of the artwork on this.
Yeah.
I contributed, so we can get, when you do your in-kind, whatever hours, I can put in those hours.
And I think there's still a lot of content.
Biggest thing is to get you to try to put down your orange skin.
I know. I agree. I'll be making, just so you know, I have spent, no joke, I'm not kidding you, probably 15 hours on this. I mean, it seems like it doesn't take any time at all, but you get into these programs and it takes a long time.
Yeah.
Plus
And not
there's-
only that,
plus
is
there's just a learning curve to
there's a
get,
lot.
get the program to function.
Right, and I don't even have a great program, I'm using papers, but the other thing that I have to tell you is, I'm always trying to create things, so like I created this guy, that guy's a truck. I mean, I to find all little elements without paying, that's the thing, if I had a program that we paid for, I could do this stuff in like a lot less time, but since we're not paying for things, it's like a lot more time, so
So,
I'm not complaining.
when it comes to the brochure and the draft here, this meets, this is what you kind of guys intended with the,
Did you guys want to see it?
with the grants. Yeah, and I can hand out, bring the copies here. Here. So if that's kind of what you guys had in mind, we can run with that. Otherwise, it can help, you know, if you guys wanted to make a brochure that's more your story specific, it can help add material and help the technical part of that, but I can't put together a, you know, your story kind of thing. That's definitely something that you guys can do, but I can do, you know, like this, and then a water quality one to support it. So if you, I mean, that helps take some of the workload off. You guys can reference this material, use anything you want from this. And if you wanted to make a, you know, our story, 14 Mile Watershed Alliance brochure, and then I think that'd be a really good, like,
Yeah,
trifecta, right?
because I can take your stuff and
Yep.
condense it down to what is important to our lake owners or to the people in the area that we
Yep.
contact.
You don't need all the extras, that's
We
like the
don't.
general population. It's like, well, for lake owner,
Right.
for shoreline, what's important from this, and then that kind of creates continuity across the different
That's
pathways.
where our focus should be, and that's what we can do best.
And I think that'd be really good if we get a set of pamphlets and material that all is self-referencing. So if you take elements for that from this, and I have elements from that, we have shared illustrations, and then we have the water quality one and everything else. Now we've got kind of this ecosystem of pamphlets that is localized, that people can recognize as part of all the
So-
same thing.
To that end, Megan is the person who's doing our brochures.
Yeah, she and I are working together on these brochures.
So what I would like to do is like maybe in January or something, I could come in and sit with you guys.
Yeah.
And then just kind of, you know,
Plan out that
brainstorm,
material.
brainstorm it out, yeah. Because I've worked with Megan before, she's very easy to work with, and she knows a lot more about it.
Yeah, if we can figure out a format that we like, then doing type content is a lot easier.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
And things like this, so like the key partners page, once we narrow that down, then we can just rescale it as we need, and boom, half the pamphlets done on all three of those, so. Makes life a lot easier.
Dave, just a reminder for everyone to keep track of your hours. I'm doing the tracking for this education grant. Like to get those in at, you know, at the close of every month, so we don't have a backlog to do at the end of the grant. But yeah, and we need date for each activity.
So what are the three, what are the things you need to know?
Date,
Date.
number of hours, and a brief description of, and which of the 6 or 8 sub-projects in the grant it's associated. the
Yep,
work
so
is
just use
associated
the
with.
description that we use in our budget page.
Right, well, and I'll send around again, if you like, that form you can use.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'll get this done when I'm in Texas.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna spend
Well,
time.
I'm just, I want us to keep up on it, so it doesn't become a scramble at the end of it.
It's gonna be a scramble.
Well, yeah, but who can remember a month ago what you did on a given day?
Nobody was, I mean, who's gonna check on it is my question.
Well,
I mean, I have an idea of how much time I spend on things,
yeah,
but it's not just designing stuff, there's other stuff other people can do as well.
but the more in-kind hours we can put in, the better off we're gonna be
Right.
in terms of future grants as well.
How many hours
If
do we have to meet?
we talked about that.
Well, we need a 25% match. but
Right, but what would that be?
I don't remember the number of hours. It was only a couple hundred, right?
I didn't
It's
think it was that many.
$5,000 grant, so
It's not that
It's
much.
1,600
So,
divided by
yeah, so
15. It's
so
only,
5,000 is.
it's only 100 hours.
75%
Is that right?
Yeah, it's about 16, maybe it's like 1666 or something.
Yeah.
So it's 100 hours.
You got Well- 90
hours a week.
It's about
Yeah,
85 to
Yeah.
100.
Yeah, but
depending
it
on
has to
your
be
slice.
specific to, yeah.
At $15 an hour.
But don't be afraid,
And-
you know,
and
to
quite
go
frankly,
over.
We've met that,
Yeah.
but if we can exceed it and document that to it, it just shows how committed we are and helps with that.
It will help for future grants.
So like 8 people at Fish Sticks. Sorry, 15 people at Fish Sticks for 8 hours across 2 days is already 120 hours.
But fish sticks aren't part of
Except
this.
that fish sticks are worth this grant.
Oh,
Yeah.
But it's part of a Healthy Lakes grant, and I very carefully document those day by day. Okay, just one last item here. I mean, State of our Lakes was on here, but essentially that was, I threw that in so that we could accumulate a bunch of volunteer hours, more so than that we're using the funds, so. But the other thing was displaying healthy lakes and grants, storyboard, story map, brochure, maybe some kind of an open house tour, you know, however we want to tackle that. So that's one of the
Those are big things. I mean, we haven't done anything on the storyboard. When do we have to get this done?
next, a little over a year. We got a year.
Wow.
Uh,
So
just-
anybody who
just
wants to
like-
volunteer, please come. We need all the help we can get.
Well, initially, we said, well, oh, we're gonna do it all this year. I said, we better make this a 2-year.
Yeah.
Okay, enough of that. Grants, clean water fertilizer. Aren't doing anything with that. I don't think we'll try to take clean water signs to the winter farmers market. I don't know.
I don't think so.
It's probably not the right time.
Yeah.
Next item is the project I'd like to undertake on Walden Park and part of that, I'm still trying to get that conversation going with Pam Tosh and find out if that would be eligible for Healthy Lakes. I don't know for sure if township can apply for those, you know, if a government entity could apply. We know that we did things like Lake Sherwood property owners applied to put fish sticks on state property and on county property. I don't see this as being much different, so maybe something like, because of where it's located, the Camelot Association could apply if the town isn't eligible. So that's kind of the first thing I want to find out. How much could help the lakes pay if it's eligible for a grant? And then we can start looking for other matching sources, grant sources, volunteer labor for that. Okay, move on, finance. Why don't Barbara can tell us about tree and shrub? I know it made it into the Sherwood newsletter.
Yep.
because we just got that this week.
Yep, and each association sent it out too, so that's been going out. I've gotten about 20 orders already, and so they're coming in. Some are fairly large, and we had gone ahead and pre-ordered the 3 items that they ran out of early last year, so that we have them on hand and not have to disappoint people as much.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, so I also sent a letter to all of those people that didn't get the items that they had ordered because they were already out by the time we received the order, and let them know that we had pre-ordered those items and encourage them to give us another chance. So
That
we'll
was
see.
really wonderful.
We'll see. So so far, I think it's going well. The native plant sale has been an idea that Karen had come up with in the past. And I guess one thing that I'd like to suggest is that maybe one year we do a tree and shrub sale, the next year we do a native plant sale. Because, you know,
It's a lot of
just
work.
April and May is your planting times, and it would just be, it'd be a big undertaking to do both of them in the same year, I think. So,
I'm with you on that. We have to look, I'm gonna do some more research with Glacial Ridge.
Okay.
Because I'll be ordering my own again, and then I'll let you know,
That's such a much more affordable source,
much more important.
but their quantities that they need to handle are different than the
Right.
others. That's why they're so much cheaper.
Right, so you have to
because
have 8
order in
flats.
pretty big quantities.
Right, an 8 flat order is your minimum, so. But it's only $32 a flat, so it's a lot less. So definitely for next year,
Okay, so we'll kind of keep that on. the
Yeah.
agenda.
or for, I guess, the year.
Next, I don't have any other speakers lined up yet for through the fall and winter, so if anybody has anyone they would like to have come with us, of course, we already mentioned that we do want to have a joint meeting sometime, maybe in December, probably more likely maybe January or February
She said January, yeah, after the holiday.
with gold and other
Taxes.
other local watershed type groups. So I think that's important. Anything going on with any of the lakes anybody wants to share? Sure, when we've got our fishery date set now, 21st, it's always the Saturday of the free fishing weekend. And that also puts us in line to be one of the first ones in the area. Where we roll the dice is what the ice conditions are.
So what is it, January
21st.
21st?
You'll see some nice prizes I hung up in the rafters upstairs. So anybody is welcome to buy tickets and help us raise money. We usually make between $3,000 and $4,000 share on the fishery. So, town, county, maybe John, you have anything drainage district wise to share?
Just to report that we did a ditch walk adjacent to Heartland Farms here in September. And I may have reported on it in October, but the upshot of the thing is that there were complaints by landowners that they were being flooded by practices that were taking place from Heartland Farm. We found that there were a number of beaver dams on this particular ditch, and that may or may not have contributed to the beavers. Unfortunately, have been eradicated. No more to report on that. We haven't heard from the landowner yet in regard to whether or not he's happy with what's going on. We'll be doing our annual meeting, which includes the budget meeting on Wednesday of this week. Just a reminder that the Leola district, Leola portion of the drainage district continues to be unfunded. So this district is unique in that it's gone without any kind of improvements other than what the landowners have paid for almost 40 years. Not to say anything one way or another, but it's kind of unique in that respect. No other district in the state that is that sort of a situation. That's what it is.
Who normally funds them?
Who normally
Yeah.
funds the?
The districts? Like
Well, it's funding is done on a footage basis by the agricultural people.
So it's kind of an assessment,
Yes, it is.
just like other
Got it.
tax bodies.
It's
Okay.
just like the Tri-Lakes Management District, isn't it? But for drainage.
Well, yeah.
Similar,
It-
sorry, law.
It's provided for in the state statute, so it's not a voluntary sort of thing. If you have land within the district, you're gonna pay it.
I did have one announcement. Although I don't work for Adams County anymore, I'm still a collaborator. I'm still a collaborator for Farms of the Rocher Free, just with extensions. I'm happy to share that they got fully funded for the 2023 grant. So they will be hosting events and
So that was
research.
that grant they paid
Yes,
for.
that's the Department of Agriculture, the producer-led watershed protection.
Great. Okay, next meeting would be the 12th of December, but it's been brought to my attention that maybe we shouldn't, with everything going on in December, if there isn't anything of immediate need, maybe we should forego having a December meeting. So what are folks' thoughts?
I can't make it, so I'm all for that. So I'm good.
So we're good with skipping December and trying to focus in on January. Just among the board, we can continue to communicate.
Plus you loaded up my plate. with stuff to do, so
Okay, well, we shall
I'm good.
either have the regular date in January or see if we can get something finalized to announce with this network meeting we're trying to set up. So
That would be perfect. Hopefully, I mean, they're working with conservationists and stuff. By the way, Kyle, you're gonna come to that.
Which one specifically? Sorry.
I don't know, Colin and see anything else?
which one?
Oh, is
The
this
gold one,
Oh,
the gold one. So it's not just gold.
No.
Okay, we have to include you on it. So it's a meeting with a whole bunch of groups.
oh, is that,
It's
this got River, Ryan, Line, Son and everything, this is sort of an advisory?
No, no, no,
no,
No, this
no, no,
is
no.
This is
meet and
just
greet to
separate.
get like different water quality groups together, like 14-mile Packers, Lake Redstone, which is down in Juneau County, and also Lake Wisconsin. Watershed groups.
just for networking.
What's the date?
They don't have
There's no subject, but
Yeah, ideally,
It would be in June.
ideally, if the dates work out, I'd do that.
And we might make it our monthly meeting. Just so you know, we invited Gold to the meeting to our meeting tonight, but they had their meeting at 5, so it didn't work out. So,
Who is gold?
Guardians of Lake Decorah. That's what it stands
they're
for.
out.
it's down by.
Right.
It's like another.
They've been around, yeah, about the same time we've been around. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to mention really quick before we end the meeting. I want everybody to really definitely consider, and that can be anybody, it doesn't have to be just people who are part of the membership here, to consider going to the water convention, the Clean Water Convention this year, or it's gonna be in April. Because it's a really great event, because you get to network with everybody who's talking, working on clean water. You get to learn what they do in their communities. It's a great event. If there is a fee for it, but it's well worth it. It's a 3 or 4, I think
That's
it's
the Lakes, helping, or the Wisconsin Lakes.
Wisconsin Lakes Convention.
Yeah.
It's at Stevens Point.
Yep.
It's at Stevens Point every year, and it's just wonderful, unbelievably incredible. You learn so much, and you get to meet such great people. So keep that in your radar.
And there's a lot of great
Oh, totally. It's great.
Yeah, a lot of selections.
I will be there too.
Yeah, and Jane and Kevin, did you guys want to talk about anything specific? I mean, you're welcome to say, or,
Unless you want to hear about our granddaughter.
actually, that was
Social discussion.
I'll do that, but that'd take another 3 hours.
But one of the things I want you guys to know is when you're here, you can talk up. It's not we're not, really strict on anything. We just.
You say something wrong, we'll yell.
Thank you for coming.
And entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's go ahead and thank you for coming. Thanks to folks who participated remotely. Should we ask one last time before you cut it off? Anybody who's remote have
the
anything
chat.
to
Check out the
last
chat.
minute to add?
Wait,
Oh,
we're
what
looking
do
at
we
the
have with
chat.
chats? Oh,
Oh,
like
look at
something.
Scott's.
Scott.
Yeah. we
No.
talked- Hey, Scott,
Happy Thanksgiving.
happy Thanksgiving to
Yes,
you.
already, so-
Hey, thank you.
Thanks for coming. Yes.
Vinnie,
Amy.